This coin almost ended up in a pocket full of loose change, yet it sold for more than $1 million. Imagine holding a penny in your hand that looks so ordinary, you'd barely give it a second thought. But hidden in plain sight, a tiny D mint mark under the year 1982 turned this common coin into one of the rarest treasures in U.S. history, and here's the shocking truth: collectors are hunting day and night for this penny. Because the right one, the exact variation, can bring as much as $1.8 million at auction, but how could something worth just a single cent explode into a life-changing fortune? The answer lies in one of the most chaotic years in American coin minting. The year was 1982. The United States Mint was struggling. Inflation was climbing, and the cost of copper, the very metal used to strike pennies, had soared. For decades, every penny contained 95% copper. But by 1982, the metal inside the coin was worth more than the coin itself. It was a disaster waiting to happen. So the Mint made a bold decision. In the middle of the year, they changed the very DNA of the penny. Instead of solid copper, they switched to cheaper zinc, coated with only a thin layer of copper. But here's where the story twists. During this transition, multiple varieties of 1982 pennies were struck. Different metals. Different weights. Even slightly different lettering styles. Collectors were left stunned. One year, one coin, but more variations than almost any other penny in modern history, and at the center of it all, the 1982 D mint mark penny, hiding a secret so powerful, it turned 1 cent into a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In Denver, where pennies bore the small d under the year, some of the old copper planchets, blanks left over from earlier production, slipped through the cracks. By mistake, a small number of 1982 D pennies were struck on these heavier copper blanks instead of the new zinc ones. That mistake created one of the rarest Lincoln cents of all time. Most people had no idea. These coins circulated for years, unnoticed, tossed in jars, spilled under couch cushions. They were spent and forgotten. Until, decades later, a few lucky collectors made the discovery of a lifetime. One man was sorting through rolls of pennies from his local bank when he spotted something odd. His 1982 D penny felt heavier. Different. He put it on a scale, and what he saw almost made his hands shake. Instead of weighing 2.5 grams like the zinc pennies, this one came in at 3.1 grams. Solid copper. That single moment changed his life. That single penny would later be valued at hundreds of thousands, even up to $1.8 million depending on its condition. But here's the part most people miss: not every 1982 D penny is valuable. In fact, the vast majority are worth only face value. The key is in the details: the weight, the composition, and the subtle differences in how the coin was struck, because in 1982, the Mint produced not just 2 types of metal, but 7 different varieties in total. Large date copper. Small date copper. Large date zinc. Small date zinc. Multiply that by both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and you have a collector's puzzle unlike anything else in U.S. history. The 1982 D small date copper penny is the holy grail, and it's the one coin that transformed pocket change into a $1 million miracle. Dealers whisper about it. Collectors dream about it. And yet, most people who've held one in their hand, never realized what they had. Think about it. The Denver Mint was switching rapidly from copper to zinc. The dies were being changed. New blanks were being fed into the presses. Mistakes were almost inevitable. A few leftover copper blanks slipped in at the wrong time, and were struck with the new small date design. The result? A coin so rare that fewer than a handful are confirmed to exist. Now here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night: there may still be undiscovered 1982 D small date copper pennies hiding in circulation. Sitting in dusty coffee cans. Resting in old penny albums. Buried in jars of change in your own home, and that possibility is why this coin has reached mythical status. But let's dig even deeper. When the first 1982 D small date copper penny surfaced, many experts refused to believe it was real. Impossible, they said. The Mint never made one. But the evidence was undeniable. Tests confirmed its composition. The scales proved its weight. And suddenly, a legend was born. Collectors scrambled. Dealers scoured their inventories. Coin rolls were torn open across the country. Everyone was desperate to find another one. Because just imagine, finding a coin worth over $1 million in your pocket change, but here's where the story takes another shocking turn. Some 1982 pennies are close, but not quite the jackpot. A large date instead of a small date. A zinc blank instead of copper. One tiny difference that separates a coin worth 1 cent from a coin worth life-changing money. That's why attention to detail is everything, and here's how you can know if you're holding the right one. First, look at the date. The small date has a more delicate, even look to the numbers. The 8 is more rounded. The 2 has a sharper curve. If you're not sure, compare it to another 1982 penny. The difference is clear when you see them side by side. Second, check the mint mark. You need that tiny D under the date. Without it, it's not the $1 million variety. Third, and most important, weigh the coin. If it comes in at 3.1 grams, you're looking at copper. If it's 2.5 grams, it's zinc, and worth only face value. And here's the part that takes collectors' breath away, a genuine 1982 D small date copper penny in top condition could bring you up to $1.8 million. A jar of coins you've ignored for years. A dusty roll of pennies from the bank. A childhood collection tucked in a drawer. Inside, just one extraordinary mistake from 1982 could transform your life forever. Collectors call it the miracle penny. Dealers describe it as lightning in a bottle. But for the person who finds it, it's far more than that. It's proof that even the smallest things in life can hold unimaginable value. Every coin tells a story. Some tell a story of history. Some tell a story of survival. But a rare few, like the 1982 D small date copper penny, tell a story of fortune. So check your coins carefully. Study the details. Weigh them if you have to. Because the next one discovered could belong to you, and if it does, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the coin collecting world by selling for nearly $2 million. And what makes it even more unbelievable is that it's not some ancient relic, not a coin locked away in a museum, it's a modern-day penny. The 2020 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin. A coin so common, so ordinary, that millions of Americans have tossed it into jars, slipped it into vending machines, and even left it buried between couch cushions. But a few rare survivors of this coin carry a secret that could turn an everyday penny into a fortune worth up to $1.7 million. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks just like every other cent you've ever seen. Same copper color. Same familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. Nothing about it screams wealth. And yet, for one lucky collector, that ordinary penny became a golden ticket to a life-changing payday. This is the story of how one of the most modern coins in U.S. history turned into one of the most valuable treasures ever discovered. It all begins with the year 2020. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents that year, business as usual. But hidden in the chaos of coin production, something went wrong. A subtle mistake, so tiny that most people missed it. A mistake that transformed a handful of these coins from pocket change into a millionaire's dream. Collectors call it a minting error, and the truth is, mint errors are the lifeblood of coin hunting, but this wasn't just any error. No, this one was different. Rare. Mysterious. It involved a flaw so perfectly timed, so incredibly scarce, that when examples began surfacing, dealers could hardly believe their eyes. They whispered about it at coin shows. Auction houses held their breath. And when the hammer fell at auction, jaws dropped. A single 2020 D Lincoln penny, the kind you and I might have spent on a stick of gum, brought in more than $1 million. What could possibly make such a new coin worth so much money? The answer lies in the tiniest of details. A misplaced die, a doubled feature, or a striking issue that makes this coin stand apart. Most people glance at their change and never notice these things. But trained collectors, they know. They look closely, examining the date, the mint mark, the edges, even the faintest doubling of letters like Liberty or In God We Trust. These are the clues. And in 2020, the Denver Mint accidentally left behind a trail of them. One collector, a man in his 60s, nearly overlooked his discovery. He was counting pennies from a bank roll, absent-mindedly checking each one. And then, there it was. Something about the D Mint mark looked unusual. The lettering seemed off. The coin shimmered strangely under the light. He held it closer, heart pounding. Could this be the one? Could this be the rare 2020 Denver Mint error everyone whispered about but no one truly believed existed? He sent it off for grading, and when the results came back, his life changed forever. That penny, pulled from an ordinary roll, was valued at over $1.5 million, but the story doesn't end there. Because once word got out, the entire coin community erupted. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. Everyone wanted to know, how many of these mysterious 2020 D Mint mark pennies were out there. Some claimed only a handful existed. Others whispered that hundreds might still be hiding in plain sight, in coffee cans, in jars of spare change, in forgotten piggy banks. The chase was on, and yet, there's a cruel twist. Most people will spend these coins without ever realizing their true value. They'll slide across a counter, dropped into a cash register, lost forever. One man's trash, another man's $1 million miracle, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another example surfaced, this time, in near-perfect condition. PCGS, one of the most respected grading services in America, gave it a grade so high that collectors gasped. The bidding war was fierce. Numbers climbed higher and higher. And when the final gavel struck, that humble penny was no longer just spare change. It was history. Over $1.7 million exchanged hands for a single cent. Think about that. A coin you could find in your pocket. A coin you might have walked past on the sidewalk. That tiny detail, that secret mistake from the Denver Mint, transformed it into a treasure worth more than most people's homes. This is why collectors obsess over details. They know that fortune hides in plain sight. They know that errors, varieties, and rare conditions are the keys to unlocking wealth. And the 2020 D penny? It has become one of the most legendary modern coins of them all, but here's the part you need to know, because this isn't just history. This could be your reality. Right now, sitting in your drawer, in your coin jar, even in your pocket, you could have a 2020 D Mint mark Lincoln penny worth more than $1 million. 2020, look for the D Mint mark, which stands for Denver, just beneath the date. Then, look closer. Examine the letters in Liberty. Look at In God We Trust. Is there doubling? A strange distortion? Does the D Mint mark look misplaced or doubled? These are the hallmarks of the rare errors that made million-dollar headlines. Condition matters too. A flawless coin, without scratches or wear, could skyrocket in value. Even slight differences can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent, and a penny worth $1.7 million. Many people dismiss their change without looking. They assume all modern pennies are worthless. They assume only old coins carry value. And that's the exact mistake that leads to fortunes being lost forever. Collectors know better. They know that opportunity doesn't always shine. Sometimes it's small. Sometimes it's dull. Sometimes it's a penny you'd never expect. And yet, that's where the million-dollar treasure hides. One coin. One discovery. One life changed forever. That's the power of the 2020 D Mint mark Lincoln sent us. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss your pennies aside. Look closely. Search carefully. Because history has already proven it, the next $1.7 million penny could be in your hands right now. This coin almost ended up lost forever in a handful of loose change, but when a sharp-eyed collector recognized what he was holding, it sold for nearly $2 million. Yes, you heard that right, a penny, just 1 cent, became a life-changing fortune. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, the cashier hands you back some change, and you almost toss the pennies into a jar without looking. But among them sits a 1998 Lincoln cent. It looks ordinary. Plain copper-colored, like millions of others. No mint mark beneath the date. Nothing that screams valuable. But here's the shocking truth, that simple little coin, struck in 1998 with no mint mark, could be worth up to $1.9 million. And most people are walking right past it. Why would a coin minted so recently hold such staggering value? The answer lies in the secrets of the US Mint. In 1998, machines were producing billions of pennies. But among that flood of coins, mistakes slipped through, mistakes so subtle that even seasoned collectors ignored them. Yet those tiny flaws created some of the rarest, most valuable Lincoln cents in American history. Certain 1998 cents were struck with unusual die varieties. Some had doubling on the obverse, a faint, ghost-like doubling in the word liberty or in the date itself. Others were struck with mismatched hubs, leading to a mysterious appearance that no ordinary penny should have. And when a coin is both modern and flawed in a way that's extremely rare, collectors begin to whisper. Whispers turn into rumors. Rumors turn into frantic bidding wars at auctions, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man in the Midwest, sorting through his spare change late one night, noticed something odd about his penny. Under a simple magnifying glass, the letters looked thicker. Sharper. Almost as if they had been shadowed. He tucked it away, not realizing what he had just found. Weeks later, after taking it to a dealer, jaws dropped. The coin was authenticated as an ultra-rare 1998 no mint mark double die. When it went to auction, bidders fought tooth and nail, and the final price soared into the millions. A single penny. A 1-cent coin. Sold for more than most people's homes. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. The news spread like wildfire. Suddenly, everyone was pulling out their jars, digging through drawers, and searching their pockets. Could it be true? Could an ordinary 1998 penny really be worth millions? Yes, it could. Because more than one of these coins was minted. That means more are still out there, hiding in plain sight. In piggy banks. In dusty coffee cans. In your own change purse right now, but here's where things get even more mysterious. Not every 1998 penny is valuable. In fact, most are only worth 1 cent. The trick is knowing exactly what to look for. And if you don't know, you'll almost certainly miss it. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look at the date. On rare 1998 no mint mark cents, doubling appears on the numbers, sometimes ever so slightly on the word liberty. Under magnification, the doubling is crisp, not blurry. It looks like a second image stamped into the metal. The doubling on the obverse is unmistakable once you know what to search for. And when grading services confirm it, the value explodes. Another variation comes from proof dies accidentally used on circulation strikes. These coins display sharper, mirror-like features, completely unlike a standard business strike. They are breathtaking to see in person, and they drive collectors wild at auction, but the real jackpot comes when you combine rarity with perfect condition. A mint state 1998 no mint mark double die can fetch astronomical prices. The highest ever recorded sale approached $1.9 million, a number so incredible, it made headlines around the world. Many of these coins have already passed through everyday hands. Some were dropped on sidewalks. Some were used to pay for gum. Some ended up buried at the bottom of old jars. Ordinary people had no idea they were literally spending a fortune. One collector, after hearing about the rarity, sifted through nearly 20,000 pennies before he found one with the telltale doubling. His persistence paid off. That single find changed his life. He described it as, like winning the lottery, but better, because I found it with my own eyes. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Auctions are buzzing with anticipation every time a 1998 double die cent appears. Even smaller errors from that year are drawing record attention. The frenzy is real. Here's the chilling truth: many collectors believe more are waiting to be discovered. Unlike older coins, these 1998 cents aren't buried in deep vaults. They're still circulating. They're still being spent. They're still hiding in plain sight. Which means the chance of discovery is greater than ever. You must examine every detail. First, check the date, 1998, no mint mark under the year. Then, under magnification, inspect Liberty and the numbers in the date for doubling. Look at Lincoln's profile. Subtle distortions, unusual thickness, or ghost-like images can all be signs of the doubled die variety. If you see anything unusual, don't dismiss it. Get it authenticated, because one mistake people make is assuming their penny is worthless. They toss it aside. They spend it. And in doing so, they lose out on a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Another mistake. Cleaning the coin. Collectors know that cleaning destroys value. A dirty coin is worth more than a shiny one that's been scrubbed. If you find something unusual, protect it, never polish it, and remember, condition is everything. A worn example may fetch hundreds or thousands. But in pristine condition, untouched, flawless, that's when the $1,000,000 miracle happens. You might already own the most valuable coin of your life. Not a rare gold piece. Not a 100-year-old silver dollar. Just a simple penny. The kind that rattles in pockets and slides under couches. The kind most people ignore. The kind you've seen 1,000 times before, but tonight, as you look at your change, maybe you'll pause. Maybe you'll hold that 1998 penny a little closer to the light. Maybe you'll see something no one else saw. And maybe, just maybe, your penny will be the next one to shock the world, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. This penny was almost thrown away, yet today it's known to be worth as much as $2,000,000, think about that. A single cent, something most of us barely notice. Something dropped on sidewalks, forgotten in ashtrays, swept into jars and coffee cans. Yet one of these tiny brown coins, if you spot the right detail, could change your entire life. But it's not. Because in 1994, something happened at the US Mint that no one expected. A mistake, a tiny detail almost invisible to the naked eye, slipped past inspectors. And decades later, it created one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin history, but here's the part that will leave you stunned. Most people who held this exact penny in their hand never realized what they were looking at. They spent it on gum. On parking meters. On nothing. Yet a few sharp-eyed collectors, the ones who knew what to look for, uncovered the truth, and turned a simple penny into a life-changing fortune, and that's where the story begins. In the mid-1990s, the mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. The demand was high. The presses ran fast. Speed was everything. But speed often leaves room for mistakes. And in 1994, mistakes happened. One batch of cents struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the ones with no mint mark, carried anomalies that collectors still whisper about today. Doubled dies. Off-center strikes. Planchet errors. Even small die breaks that appeared like mysterious cracks across Lincoln's profile. Each one of these errors could transform a 1-cent coin into something dealers would pay tens of thousands for, but here's the twist that turned this ordinary penny into a legend. One collector, digging through a bag of cents straight from the bank, noticed something strange. Lincoln's date, 1994, looked off. The digits seemed doubled, almost as if two images were resting on top of each other. His heart raced. Because he knew what that meant. It wasn't just an error. It was a doubled die. One of the rarest and most sought-after mistakes in the coin world. And depending on condition, this error can push a 1994 no mint mark penny into the stratosphere of value, even up to $2 million for the right coin. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction houses that normally focused on gold eagles and silver dollars suddenly turned their attention to a humble 1-cent coin. When the gavel fell, the bidding had soared far beyond what anyone thought possible. Collectors gasped. Dealers whispered. A single penny had just crossed into $1 million territory, and the story spread like wildfire. Suddenly, everyday people started checking their change jars. Pawn shops and dealers were flooded with 1994 pennies. Most were ordinary. But a lucky few held errors so dramatic that even seasoned experts were speechless. Coins with massive off-center strikes, where Lincoln's head is practically sliding off the coin. Cents struck on the wrong planchet, like being struck on a dime blank. Each one worth thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes more, but the king of them all remains the doubled die. A single slip in the die hubbing process created a detail so powerful that it launched an ordinary cent into the million-dollar spotlight, and here's where the story gets even wilder: the average person doesn't know what to look for. They glance, they shrug, they spend it. And that's why most of these rare pennies remain hidden, waiting in pockets, drawers, and piggy banks across America. Imagine that, the next million-dollar coin could be sitting in your house right now. They've seen people walk in with jars of pennies and unknowingly hand over small fortunes. One collector even bought a handful of cents at a flea market for face value, and discovered an error worth 6 figures. This is the key. Look closely at the date, 1994. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. If the numbers appear doubled, with shadowy outlines or a slightly blurry look, you may be staring at the rare doubled die. Check Lincoln's eyes and mouth too. On known examples, even his features show doubling. Condition matters, of course. The sharper the coin, the higher the price. Mint state examples, coins that look like they just left the press, are the ones that can push into million-dollar auctions. But even circulated examples, if the doubling is strong, can fetch incredible sums. The strike. If the coin is noticeably off-center, or if the rim looks strange, it could be a valuable mint error. And don't ignore weight. If a 1994 cent feels lighter or heavier than normal, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. One of the rarest errors of all. Collectors were shocked when the first major sale hit the headlines. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on these coins. And ordinary people, people just like you, are checking their change with brand new hope. Think about it. 1 cent, something you might toss away without a thought. Yet in the right condition, with the right mistake, it can be worth not just thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but up to $2 million. These coins are still out there. Waiting. Hiding. Passing unnoticed through everyday transactions. So the next time you hold a 1994 penny, don't ignore it. Don't spend it without a second glance. Because this tiny piece of copper could hold the power to rewrite your life. Check the date. Study the details. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up lost in a handful of spare change, yet today, it's whispered about as one of the most valuable pennies in modern history. A 2014 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, the kind most people toss aside without a second thought, has been valued at up to $2 million. Imagine that. A penny, worth more than a mansion. Back in 2014, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. They flowed out of Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and most were perfect, unremarkable, destined for cash registers and coin jars across America. But buried among these billions was a mistake. A coin so rare, so mysterious, that it would one day shake the entire coin-collecting world. At first glance, it looked like any other 2014 penny. Copper-plated zinc, the familiar portrait of Lincoln staring straight ahead, the memorial gone and the Union Shield design proudly stamped on the reverse. But collectors noticed something strange: there was no mint mark at all. And while most no mint mark pennies from Philadelphia are common, this one was different. Something about its surface, its strike, and its unusual flaws made it unlike anything the mint had ever released. And then, it happened. One coin appeared at an auction. Dealers expected a small bidding war, maybe a few $100s, perhaps $1,000 if excitement built. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The bids shot higher, 10,000, 100,000, and then, against all odds, this single 2014 penny climbed into the millions. Collectors were in shock. A coin you could have found in your pocket change, suddenly worth nearly $2 million. Some say it was struck on the wrong planchet, a blank meant for another denomination, like a dime or a foreign coin. Others believe it was a double strike error, with faint shadows of Lincoln's profile visible if you tilt it under the light. And a few whisper that a tiny misalignment, almost invisible to the naked eye, created a one-of-a-kind rarity. But here's the terrifying truth for collectors: most people who held this coin never even noticed. They spent it at a gas station, dropped it in a vending machine, or let it slip into a tip jar. And yet, one sharp-eyed collector caught the difference. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Just think about it. You might already have one of these coins in a coffee can, a desk drawer, or a box in the attic. And without knowing it, you could be holding the key to a fortune. But before you start digging through every penny you've ever saved, you need to know the signs. Because this coin doesn't announce itself. It hides in plain sight. Look at the date, 2014. Then check carefully beneath it. A Denver Mint penny would show a D. A San Francisco proof would show an S. But this coin shows nothing. Just a blank space where a mint mark should be. Still, that alone isn't enough. Millions of Philadelphia pennies also carry no mint mark. So what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary? It's in the details. The sharpness of the strike. The weight of the coin. The unusual color or luster that doesn't match other 2014 issues. Some carry faint doubling in the date or in the shield design on the reverse. Others are struck so far off-center that Lincoln's portrait looks ghostly, almost cut in half. And it's those differences, those little quirks born from the mint's rarest mistakes, that transform a simple penny into a treasure worth millions. Dealers are now rushing to get their hands on any 2014 no-mint mark errors they can find. Auctions have become battlegrounds, with collectors willing to pay 6 or 7 figures just for a chance to own one. And every time one of these coins surfaces, the excitement grows. Because if one exists, others might still be hiding. But here's the haunting part: experts believe that most of these rare errors were spent before anyone realized their value. That means they could be anywhere, buried in circulation, hiding in your pocket change, or waiting in a coin roll from the bank. And every time a collector opens a fresh roll of pennies, there's a pulse of electricity, a surge of hope. Because the next coin they flip over could be the one, the $2 million discovery. Imagine holding it in your hand. The same weight, the same feel, the same ordinary copper glow as every other penny. But knowing that this one, this tiny, overlooked coin, could change your life forever, collectors compare it to finding buried treasure. Dealers call it the modern-day lottery ticket. And for the lucky few who have uncovered one, it's nothing short of a miracle. To know for sure, you have to check carefully. Don't just glance at the date. Study it. Inspect the lettering. Tilt it under bright light. Look for doubling, for misalignments, for anything that seems just slightly off. Weigh the coin if you can. Errors struck on the wrong metal will often tip the scale differently than the standard 2.5 grams. Never clean the coin. Even the smallest scratch, even the lightest polish, can slash its value. Collectors pay for originality, for untouched condition. So if you think you found a 2014 no-mint mark rarity, place it gently in a protective holder and get it examined by a professional grading service. Because what looks like a penny today could be confirmed tomorrow as a $1 million masterpiece. Stories keep surfacing. A collector in the Midwest uncovered one in a jar of coins he hadn't touched in decades. Another was pulled from a bank roll in California. And still another appeared in a child's piggy bank, overlooked until a parent spotted something unusual about the date. Each time, the discovery sends shockwaves through the community, sparking fresh searches and feverish excitement. And that brings us back to you. Right now, there could be a 2014 penny in your possession that looks completely ordinary. You might be holding it while watching this, unaware of the life-changing fortune sitting between your fingers. This is the thrill of coin collecting. The chance that something as simple as a cent could rewrite your future. The possibility that history, error, and rarity collided to create a hidden treasure in your change. And it's why so many people, young and old, casual collectors and seasoned dealers alike, are searching non-stop. So the next time you see a penny, don't ignore it. Check it. Study it. Because the 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln cent has already stunned the world with a sale reaching nearly $2 million. And the next one to surface could be yours. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost went unnoticed. It was nearly spent, tossed into a jar, and forgotten forever. But instead, it sold for over $2 million. Yes, a single 1970 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin you might pass over without a second glance, has changed the lives of collectors who were lucky enough to recognize its hidden secret. And the shocking truth? One of these rare pennies could be hiding in your own pocket change right now. What makes a small piece of copper, something worth just a single cent, suddenly command a price tag of more than $2.1 million? The answer lies in a mistake. A minting error so subtle, so hidden, that most people have stared at this coin and never noticed it. The year was 1970. The Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies. Every day, machines clashed, presses struck planchets, and the face of Abraham Lincoln appeared by the millions. To most, these coins were ordinary, just loose change. But in that sea of copper, a handful of coins were struck with a flaw. A flaw that transformed them into once-in-a-lifetime treasures. And here's the twist: this error is invisible unless you know exactly what to look for. Collectors call it the 1970 double-die penny, and to this day, it stands as one of the most mysterious, most sought-after, and most valuable Lincoln cents in American history. Imagine the hub, the steel tool that imprints the design onto the die. Normally, the hub presses into the die once, clean and precise. But in rare cases, it strikes twice, at a slightly different angle. That small shift creates a doubling effect. To the naked eye, the coin may look normal. But under closer inspection, the letters and numbers appear doubled, like shadows echoing their own outlines. On the 1970 penny, that doubling is most dramatic on the date itself. The numbers 1, 9, 7, and especially the 0, show a bold, unmistakable spread. Collectors were stunned when these pennies first surfaced. Dealers rushed to get their hands on them. And when one sold for millions, the entire coin world was left speechless. But what happened next stunned even the experts. You see, most double-die coins bring thousands, maybe tens of thousands if they're in great condition. But the 1970 double-die? It defied all expectations. At auction, the right coin in pristine condition shattered records, climbing into the millions. A penny that could have bought a gumball became worth more than a mansion, and here's the chilling part: thousands of Americans have handled this coin and never realized it. Some spent it on groceries. Some dropped it in a vending machine. Others left it buried in a jar for decades. One man discovered his in an old cigar box in his grandfather's attic, and walked away with a life-changing windfall. Collectors often describe this penny as a miracle, because it proves that even the smallest details, the tiniest mistakes, can create unimaginable value. And the demand? It only grows. Every time one of these coins surfaces, bidding wars ignite. The thought that a single cent can sell for over $2 million drives treasure hunters, collectors, and everyday people to inspect every penny they touch. The first clue is the mint mark. Look for a 1970 penny with the D mark beneath the date. This tells you it was minted in Denver. Then, examine the date itself closely, especially the 7 and the 0. On genuine double dies, you'll see clear doubling, almost like a shadowed second image. Some describe it as a ghostly echo. Others say it looks like the numbers are vibrating off the coin, but beware, many ordinary 1970 pennies are mistaken for the rare variety. Some people see machine doubling, which looks flat and shelf-like, and think they've struck gold. But true double-die coins have rounded, distinct doubling, bold enough that even under a magnifying glass, the difference is clear. It matters more than you think. A circulated example might fetch thousands. But an uncirculated, mint-state coin with blazing luster? That's the one that commands million-dollar prices. That's the one that changes lives. Imagine this for a moment. You dump out a jar of pennies that's been sitting in your closet for years. Dusty, forgotten, untouched. You sift through them, almost carelessly, until suddenly, one coin catches your eye. A small shadow on the date. A faint doubling. Your heart skips a beat. Could it be? Could this penny, worth just 1 cent to the world, actually be worth $2 million? That is the dream. That is why collectors keep searching, why dealers scan every roll of coins they can find, and why everyday people still hope for that 1 in a billion discovery. Because stories like the 1970 double-die penny are real. They remind us that treasure doesn't always come in gold or silver. Sometimes, it comes in copper, and sometimes, it comes disguised as something ordinary, but what makes this story even more gripping, is how few exist. Experts believe only a small fraction of these double-die pennies survived. Many were spent and lost forever. Others were damaged, corroded, or discarded. The exact number is unknown, but every time one appears at auction, it reignites the legend. Dealers describe the atmosphere at those auctions as electric. Bidders lock eyes, hands shoot up, and the numbers climb higher and higher. A penny crosses the threshold into the realm of luxury art, fine jewels, and priceless antiques. And when the gavel finally falls, one more collector has secured a piece of numismatic history, and another ordinary penny has been transformed into a multimillion-dollar miracle. This is why the 1970 double-die penny is so important. It's not just a coin. It's proof that mistakes, when rare enough, can become masterpieces. It's a reminder that history hides in the most unexpected places. And it's an invitation, for you, to look more closely at the pennies in your own hands. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now. It could be buried in a jar, lost in your car's cup holder, or rattling around in your pocket. And if you're the one who finds it, you're not holding a penny anymore. You're holding a treasure worth over $1 million.